And welcome back to another very special episode of The Breakdown, X's and O's. And we're not talking hugs and kisses, ladies and gentlemen, because today we have another special episode. And I'm actually super excited about this episode, Nate, because we have, we're going to talk a little bit of our NFL recap, might rant a little bit about Patrick Mahomes, but we have now the 2025 Hall of Fame semifinalists. And guess who is top, center, middle, right there?
Cool.
Eli Manning. We're going to talk about that. If Eli Manning's the first ballot Hall of Famer, we've had a couple shows in the past about it. But I do want to introduce, because I didn't do it properly, the man to my right is the 5-year NFL veteran, the man, the myth, the legend. I like to call Nate Nessie. You can call Nate Ness, and yes, I do like to say special, but Rob does not think Nate is special. So, special on and off the field, Nate, but in like a good way,
Man, that's Rob. Rob is a pain. You know that,
right? Yeah, we've had him on the show before, but Nate, as always, what's up?
Oh, not much. Just chilling. Enjoying this day. I had a day off today, so enjoying it. Before I get started, a couple of things, if it's okay. Number one, say hello to my kids, my children, Tyler, Demi. I love you guys. Nika, I love you. And if I can, my dad is having open heart surgery tomorrow, so you guys say prayer tonight. Make sure we implement that in some way, shape, or form if we can. Just blessings, and it's just a beautiful day.
As you were talking, I was getting that video for us because freaking didn't send fast enough. I hate college Wi-Fi. I wish I was back home with my sweet Wi-Fi. My mama gets it. But I got it now, and I'm just excited, Nate. There's a lot we can talk about. Hopefully, we don't spend too long on the first segment because I really want to dig deep into our old argument about Eli Manning, and play a little bit more Skip and Shannon. So, Nate, if you're ready, I'm ready.
I'm ready, baby.
Are you ready? Okay.
I'm ready.
Well, let's go. I would like to introduce the first segment of the show. This is Nate's Necessary Notes.
Let's go.
So, as always, there are the scores for the last week of NFL football. You got your Week 11 scores right there. And if you see that third score right there, the Ravens lost to the Steelers 18-16. And Nate wants to talk about a guy who's been a little dangerous this season.
We talking about Russell Wilson. Let's get right into it. I think a lot of the things that need to be said about Russ, um, everything that he's done, um, it doesn't go unnoticed. I mean, I love everything that Russ is doing. I love everything that what he stands for. Um, but he's coming off of a year where people like really had wrote him off, and just to see what he's doing with the Steelers. I mean, there was so much gripe about him becoming a starter quarterback when Justin Fields was doing a pretty decent job. But with this Steelers offense, and for this offense to grow, and for it to get to where it needs to go, it needs a veteran quarterback that under center that can actually really lead and command this offense. And I just love what Russell Wilson is doing. Um, there was a lot of people that were talking really really down on Mike Tomlin when he announced that Russell Wilson was going to be the starting quarterback for the year, even with the success that Justin Fields was having. But yet, that's a true testament of a coach that actually he knows the game. He knows what's best for his team, and for his team to win, he knows who to put in there. And Russell Wilson has played amazing. He didn't have his best game yesterday, but I'll tell you this: that Baltimore Ravens Steelers rivalry, it's alive and well. That's always going to be a defensive game, a hard hitting defensive game, where points are going to come at a premium, yards are at a premium. I mean, again, it's a bend but don't break game, and who is going to make the plays? And the Steelers, they made some plays. They didn't score no touchdowns, kick 6 field goals, but let's just call it what it is. A win is a win. So I commend Russell Wilson on the job he's doing, but most importantly, I commend Mike Tomlin with his coaching and his coaches for the game plan that they've been having, the execution of their game plans offensively, defensively, and on special teams. And yeah, we have to give credit where credit is due.
Now, I actually do want to speak on that. It's the first divisional matchup the Steelers have had in the entire year. So they have not played an AFC North divisional opponent yet this season. And now in 8 weeks of football left, you have to squeeze in 6 games worth of divisional games because you got to play a rival twice a year. But you said 6 field goals. I'm going to touch on that in a second. Chris Boswell is the man in charge of those 6 field goals, Nate. He became the first player in NFL history that day to make 6 or more field goals in 3 games.
It was like 2 or 3 games this year. Yeah.
So, he holds that record. He's been there a while. I remember playing Madden 19 and Madden 18 with Chris Boswell as the kicker. So I know he's been there a minute because I've been playing some Madden for a minute. But I kind of want to go Russ on the season. We talked about Justin Fields. I'm a big guy of riding what's hot. I like numbers. Numbers don't lie. But you take a chance on Russ because you think he's the guy, and he ends up being it. He's 4-0 as a starter, hasn't lost a game. He's 6-2 touchdown to interception ratio. He's got a touchdown on the ground as well. 942 passing yards and 60.3% completion. It's better than what you had last year. And when you're paying Russell Wilson, what, $3 million this year, $1.5 million this year, you're not paying him much at all. And then you get, better stats than what you were getting with small hands Kenny Pickett.
Why you got to call it small hands?
He's small hands, Nate.
But you want to know something? I know the numbers aren't eye-popping and off the charts, but ultimately he's winning games. The Steelers are winning games the way the Steelers win games, and what the brand of football has been for the Steelers organization since the beginning. They want to play smash mouth football. They want to run the ball. They want to play good. They're going to play good defense, run the ball, be very very smart. They are tough, disciplined. And then, of course, what's going to happen is when you run the ball, you're going to open up the play action for those big, deep plays and so forth. So they're playing to their true identity. And Russell Wilson, it just really, helps them and allows them to play with their true identity and so forth.
Now I like the Steelers. They look great on defense. You know, you can say they single-handedly went to the playoffs just on their defense. I mean, they had one of the worst offenses in the league. You're playing money ball at Steelers, and you might have taken a chance on Russell Wilson. I don't think that's the biggest risk the Steelers had this year. I think the biggest risk the Steelers had was signing the worst play caller in the NFL as your OC, Arthur Smith. He was the 32nd ranked play caller for head coaches, Nate, last year, and became the Steelers' offensive coordinator. And he's been pretty good. I'm not even going to complain about Arthur Smith because he hasn't been a problem.
You want to know why Arthur Smith has been good this year? Veteran quarterback. He has a running game, a solid offensive line. He can do the things that he wanted to do, or he wants to do. When he was in Tennessee, he had Derrick Henry. They were able to run the ball. Able to run the ball very well, and they had, if I'm not mistaken, Ryan Tannehill. Understand that Ryan Tannehill had career numbers with Arthur Smith as his offensive coordinator. Why? Because they were able to run the ball. Running the ball, what that does, it takes so much pressure off the quarterback. And when you can get a team to commit 8 in the box and load the box to a single high safety and whatnot, and you can actually get a linebacker to bite up a little bit in a run action, it opens up the playbook for those deep chunk plays.
You gonna take a shot?
Yeah. So that's what Pittsburgh is able to do right now. Najee Harris is running the ball well. I can't remember the other back that's with
Jalen Warren.
Jalen Warren. They're running the ball very, very well, which and also which is allowing Russell Wilson to get back to what we've seen in Seattle for so many odd years. Run the ball, run the ball, play action. Russell's gonna take that deep shot and that floating deep ball.
Now, I do want to talk about something because you talk about Russell Wilson. He came from Denver last year. Just him and Sean Payton could not mesh. And you're thinking, okay, well, Sean Payton's done. Drew Brees was the guy who was carrying that Saints franchise this whole time. It was all Drew Brees. And then you see what he's done this year. He's been able to accomplish with Bo Nix, somebody that was not supposed to make it into the first round, ended up being a top 10 draft pick. A number 10, I think, is what he was drafted. And you're looking at it and you're thinking, oh my gosh, he had over 300 yards, Nate, 4 touchdowns, and now we're thinking, hold up, we thought Jaden Daniels had Offensive Rookie of the Year done. I mean, I think he still does based on how many times he's won Rookie of the Week. But now Bo Nix is showing out. Nate, what is the difference from having a veteran quarterback like Russell Wilson? Sean Payton could not produce him like he wanted to because he's already experienced. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. You know what they say. When you bring Drew Brees in, who has barely any starting experience in New Orleans, and do what they did there, Sean Payton now is able to mentor another young quarterback in Denver and get the same, if not super similar, results in Bo Nix. What's the difference there, Nate? Why couldn't he do that with Russ? I mean, he's an older, experienced quarterback.
No.
What's difference? What is it? A culture thing? Like, what's going on in Denver now?
Bro, Bo Nix and Russell Wilson are 2 completely different quarterbacks. Russell Wilson thrives under center, run-oriented team, a run-based team. As far as Sean Payton, when Sean Payton, as we know, up in New Orleans, I don't recall Drew Brees ever having a running back that can command the running game in such a way that, again, where he wasn't throwing the ball 30 or 40 times a game. With the brand of football that Sean Payton likes, he likes to spread the ball out. He likes to throw the ball, and put you in weird little situations and throwing the ball. Now, Russell Wilson, he came from Seattle. Pete loved to run the ball. You had Beast Mode. You had Marshawn Lynch. You had Rashad Penny, and so forth. You had these running backs that Seattle was able to draft because of the team that they had, and just again the dynamic and the identity of that team. They like to run the ball. They'll line up in 21 personnel and run power or off the tackle, zone, and so forth. But that's not what Sean Payton's game was, and him and Russell didn't mesh because their games are not the same. So that's what it was.
I'm really, it's hard coming from a Saints fan to say this, but I'm really surprised at what Sean Payton has been able to do, because there was a stigma against him that he's probably done as a coach after last year with Russ. And all he needed was a young quarterback he could put under his wing, and he just couldn't do that with Russell Wilson. And now we've seen the fruits of Sean Payton and a young quarterback, and you got Bo Nix. But while we're on an AFC topic and we're pretty much in the West, let's stay in the West, Nate. Let's go to Kansas City. They lost to Buffalo 30-21. And let me tell you, Nate, that's their first loss of the season. Patrick Mahomes continues to struggle. Let me give you these numbers, Nate, and you tell me what you think. Now, somebody that is considered probably the greatest quarterback of all time once his career is said and done. A lot of people say that. A lot of people say he's going to beat Brady in terms of the greatest quarterback of all time. Right now, he has 2,400 passing yards, which ranks 12th in the league. He's got 15 touchdowns, which is 10th in the league. He leads the league in interceptions with 11. His touchdown interception ratio is not good, and he's 69.5% completion percentage, which is pretty good. Now, let's put this into perspective real quick. You see these numbers, 12, 10th, you lead the league in picks, you're top 3 in completion percentage, but you look at this and put it into perspective. Let's go to New York. Let's go look at the Jets. You bring in a veteran like Aaron Rodgers, you think he can turn around your franchise. Aaron Rodgers is higher in touchdowns and passing yards than Mahomes. Guess what happened September 30th, Nate? The Jets just fired their GM. They fired their head coach, Robert Saleh, not too long ago. Woody Johnson is the Jets owner. He called a meeting, an internal meeting, so like pretty much just the front office, no one else. And they had a meeting and said, I think we should consider benching Aaron Rodgers. You have a meeting and saying you want to bench the dude you brought in to lead your team to the promised land, who now has better stats than the GOAT once his career's said and done. Aaron Rodgers looks better than Patrick Mahomes on paper. He was going to get benched. What's with Patrick Mahomes' situation in Kansas City?
Okay. I think Patrick Mahomes' situation has more to do with him not having the chemistry with his receivers and just some bad breaks. We know what he can do. Ultimately, this team was 9-0 prior to last week. They're 9-1. They're the number one team in the AFC. And even though Patrick's not playing good, this is a testament to that team as a whole, that they're finding ways to win the game. You have to give credit where credit is due. Steve Spagnuolo is doing another when I say fabulous and tremendous job, putting his defense in position to really just execute and so forth. And that defense is just playing again amazing. When I say amazing, that defense is playing lights out, and just everything that they're doing on the defensive side in Kansas City. Now, do you worry about that with Patrick Mahomes? Yes and no, because the thing about it is Patrick Mahomes when the playoffs comes, I'm not worried about him. I'm not. I'm not worried about him. I'm not worried about what he's out there doing. Again, Patrick Mahomes has shown time and time again that under the big moment and big lights, he performs and so forth. And when Chris Jones, Travis Kelce, Isaiah Pacheco comes back, again, this team is going to be a team to reckon with. And with Kareem Hunt, the additions of Kareem Hunt and D-Hop, this team is just going to get better and better. Of course, Patrick Mahomes' numbers are going to get better. I believe in him. I believe in what Andy Reid, the product that they put on the field for the last, 5-6 years, and they continue to excel. So this team is just going to get better. I know you want to, I guess you sound the fire alarm, but there's no reason to sound the fire alarm. This team is number one in the AFC. Now, if they were at middle to bottom of the pack, then you ring the fire alarm. But right now, again, trust the process.
The only reason I brought that up is because he is still considered a nominee, I guess you could say, for the MVP conversation. And it just speaks volumes to how it is a popularity contest when the MVP award comes around. That's all I had. That's what I wanted to really point out with that. He's still considered top 5 in MVP voting, which I don't understand how when I just gave you those numbers. And his record speaks a lot for himself. But if you're not the most valuable player on your team, then how can you be the most valuable player in the league?
Mm-hmm.
So that's really what I wanted to point out. But Nate, did you bring pool floaties?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, because we're gonna swim it with it like this. We have now. Pull it up on my phone so I can read it to you. I have a ticker on the bottom as well. There it is down there. We have the 2025 Hall of Fame semifinalists in the books. And quickly, I'm going to read out just some names that stand out to me. If you see something on the bottom, Nate, you can read it out. But I think Eli Manning, perfect. Luke Kuechly, Steve Smith Sr., Earl Thomas is up there. Adam Vinatieri, Jared Allen, Terrell Suggs, Antonio Gates, Marshall Yonda, Reggie Wayne's on there. And Jari Evans is still on there as well. Vince Wilfork's on there. Just a couple people that are first ballot, still people like Jari Evans that haven't quite been able to make the Hall of Fame since they have been able to be inducted in 2021. So we look at this, and I really want to touch on who we think has a good chance of making it. Now, the Hall of Fame, you can only take, and you can correct me on this, it's 4 to 8 players, right? No less than 4, no more than 8?
No, it can be more. Hold on, let me look because we
Can
had
it be more than 8?
I think it can be more than 8 because we had some years where I know at least like 9 or 10 players made it.
It might have been an exception.
Yeah.
But I'm almost NFL says 4 to 8. Now there might have been a exception that year, but let's just say we can only take 8. Now we've had an Eli Manning discussion in the past. If he's a first ballot Hall of Famer or not. I really don't think his numbers are going to be a Hall of Famer, but he has beaten Brady twice in the Super Bowl, and his last name is Manning. So, what are the chances Eli Manning is a first ballot Hall of Famer?
I think the reason if he'll make it, not just because he beat Brady twice. What's his last name?
No, it's Manning, and they have him on the TV every Monday night. So it's like you on the TV every Monday night. I mean,
I think if I had to pick my this is hard. If I had to pick, I think there are about 4 guys that are locks on defense. So that's why I said it may be 9. They may make a special edition or like exception and make it 9.
Okay, who are our lock-ins? Because I'm almost certain.
I say are defensively. My lock-ins are James Harrison, Luke Kuechly, Terrell Suggs, and Suggs and Vince Wilfork. Those are my lock-ins. Those are my lock-ins on defense. Offensively, this is hard because it's so many quality players on here on offense.
Don't forget, there's a special teams player.
Adam,
but I don't think
Adam. He's gonna be a lock. He's gonna be a lock.
Only thing about that, Nate, is there are only 2 kickers in the Hall of Fame.
Gary Anderson and
who's the Saints kicker? the clubfoot kicker.
Oh man,
He's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he's in the Hall of Fame.
They're the only two, I think.
Okay.
So what are the chances another kicker? Obviously, it's as great good
Adam
as Adam
Vinatieri, yeah,
Vinatieri.
Adam Vinatieri is going to make it. He's going to make
Okay.
it. On the offensive side, you have the likes of Eli Manning, Fred Taylor, Fred Taylor, running back, Ricky
You
Watters.
think Fred Taylor's your lock-in?
I'm just going through the names.
Okay.
Anquan Bolden, Torrey Holt, Steve Smith Sr., Hines
Morton
Ward,
Anderson.
Morton Anderson. That's yeah.
That's who, I was gonna say that, but I wasn't sure.
Hines Ward, Reggie Wayne, Antonio Gates, offensive lineman, Willie Anderson, Jahari Evans, Richmond Webb, Steve Wisnowski, Marshall Yonda. Oh, that's hard. It's hard.
I think Marshall Yonda is. Can I say I think he's one of the most underrated O linemen in history.
Oh my God! But the receiver wise, and it's crazy because I just text his wife to say congratulations to him. Steve Smith Sr., and we're from the same area in California, played for the same high school coach and everything, spent a year together in Carolina. He's top 10 all time in receptions. Steve is 5'9", but he played like he was 6'5". Just a hell of a competitor. And I don't want to sound biased, but I am going to be biased. I feel this is going to be one of the hardest votes for. It's going to be a hard vote because again, Eli Manning on the strength of beating the Patriots twice. And his last name.
Hey, can I put this back up for you, Nate?
Go ahead, put it back up.
If Eli gets in, they better put his defense in with him.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying. You know my argument for Eli Manning.
Receiver wise, I mean, you look at Torrey Holt and you look at Anquan and Reggie Wayne. These guys are just amazing. And I got a chance to compete against all of these guys with the exception of Torrey Holt. I feel Steve will be. I think Steve is it has a high chance. Just because of what he's done and just he was so tough and strong. Now, offensive linemen, when we talk about Willie Anderson and Marshall Yonda, that's going to be tough right there because these two guys were consummate all pros at their positions. So if I had to pick my 9, I'm going Vinatieri, Wilfork, Harrison, Kuechly, Suggs on defense. As much as I love Earl Thomas and Rodney Harrison, too. Well, Earl Thomas is
Earl Thomas still in trouble with the league?
No, he's going through the process right now. Rodney Harrison, just what he did as a safety. Eric Allen and Darren Woodson, But those guys on offense, if I have to pick, I'm going to say Steve Smith. I'm going to say Steve Smith. Torrey Holt finally gets in because Torrey Holt deserves to be in. Steve Smith, Torrey Holt, Antonio Gates, Willie Anderson, and Marshall Yonda. I'm going to go with.
You don't put Eli Manning in.
I don't put Eli Manning in. I don't.
After all that conversation about Eli Manning.
I mean, we know he's going to be a Hall of Famer. Let's not mince words. He's going to be a Hall of Famer.
He's not first ballot.
It's hard with these guys right here unless you're going to put him over somebody else.
If he's put over anybody, I could see it being Torrey Holt. Because if Torrey Holt keeps getting put out, why not put him out another year? I don't know if Torrey Holt. I can't say that. I can't say that. I was gonna say I don't know about Torrey Holt and Reggie Wayne, but I think Torrey Holt takes the cake over Reggie Wayne. But it's because they both had super really great wide receiver duos.
Yeah.
Reggie Wayne had Marvin Harrison, and Torrey Holt had Isaac Bruce. And what they were able to accomplish
Well,
with
can we say this though? See, Reggie Wayne had Marvin Harrison. Yeah, but Marvin Harrison had always been the number one dog on that team.
was
He was the alpha. Now, on with the greatest show on turf between Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt,
it was
those
Torrey
were
Holt.
two. Those two were both dogs. You know, there was one A and one B.
I don't know if there is a limit, Rob, because I don't know. I feel like Hines Ward has been on this list 20 times. I've been on it 20 times. Not really, but like I feel like Hines Ward has been considered for a while. I mean, there's probably still people. I mean,
It's still people that
there's
like,
got to be still people. I remember watching it from a couple years back, and there were dudes in like the leather cap times getting put in the Hall of Fame. Uh, I don't think there's a limit. I don't. There probably isn't a limit. It has everything to do with competition.
yeah,
Obviously, you can only put a couple players in. They're not going to put somebody wearing a leather cap in 1936 over somebody like Torrey Holt in.
right,
I mean, they put Devin Hester in last year, which leads me to believe Adam Vinatieri will probably get in
yeah.
because Adam Vinatieri was the greatest kicker of all time when he retired. Justin Tucker is probably there now, if I had to guess. But Nate, I want to agree with your defense. I think you have a really good defense. James Harrison was probably the one that was kind of I was picking back and forth from. Kuechly,
Keekly's
Suggs.
Keekly's a first. He's a first ballot. Luke is a first ballot. I'm talking about a very much so. He is the identical. It's the identical situation as Patrick Willis. Walk away from the game earlier than expected, but walk away at the game when you're at the peak of, and at the peak of your position. The number one, a unanimous number one at your position. I'm talking about I think a 7-year, 6-time All Pro first team, 7-time Pro Bowler, 2-time defensive or excuse me 1-time defensive player of the year. We got to give Luke Kuechly his flowers because he earned it. He earned it.
Oh, you don't have to tell me nothing about Luke Kuechly because I can remember. Like
Oh
we had to
yeah,
play him
he
2 times a
terrorized
year.
that.
I can like remember the onslaught he caused playing against him. I mean, shoot, you say Drew was throwing slants his whole 2019 season? He wasn't throwing slants with Luke Kuechly on the field. I'll tell you that. Drew Brees wasn't throwing any slants with Luke Kuechly in the middle of that field. I'll assure you that. But he's got. I think Kuechly's probably the best defensive player on here. If I had to guess, I don't think anyone else has won a defensive player of the year. And when you win all pros and
Sizzle,
you're the best at
no,
your position, who won
Sizzle,
it? Who else won it?
Sizzle and James Harrison have both won.
James Harrison won it. That's why I have to put James Harrison up there.
James
Like,
Harrison and Terrell Suggs have both won it.
okay, I didn't know that.
If I'm not mistaken, Terrell Suggs may have won it twice. I'm gonna look right now.
But I'm not gonna your defense is probably spot on, Nate. There is not a single player on here I would replace. Offensively, it's a toss up. If I were the board to vote for who gets in, I'm not voting Eli Manning on offense, Nate. His numbers just aren't. I mean, you just had Peyton Manning get inducted. You'll have Tom Brady in the next couple of years, Drew Brees in the next couple of years. Eli Manning's numbers don't compare to a lot of Hall of Famers. I wish I could pull the stat up for you because I was actually thinking about it, but I just forgot to totally look it up. If you look at the Hall of Famers now in the NFL, I mean, you have guys like Kurt Warner, who's won the MVP twice. I mean, you have guys that have actually been the best in their position, and Eli Manning's never done that. So to put somebody in the Hall of Fame who's never been the best at their position the entire time they played is kind of hard for me to put them in the Hall of Fame
That's right.
and stand with other players who were the best at their position when they played.
You got a
Man,
point.
are they
You
still
got a
trying to
point.
get Plunkett in?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are.
But sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. You can continue.
No, I think about that because it's a lot of guys that they're still trying to get in. But
And that's what I'm saying. Why put somebody in that was never the best at their position? Sure, his last name's Manning. Sure, he beat Tom Brady twice in the Super Bowl. I mean, his defense was a huge testament to it, but you've never been the best. You haven't been top 3. I don't even want to say he's been top 3 in the quarterback position his whole career. The whole time he played. I can't put him in. I cannot put him in. You know what you say, Nate.
men lie, women lie, numbers don't.
And Eli Manning's numbers don't add up.
No, they don't.
But you know it does add up, Nate.
What adds up?
Now, if you were looking to save a little bit of change from some auto troubles, you can go ahead and give Jeff Vertepney a call, and he'll hook you up with some good insurance.
Come on, Jeff.
Here's to the grown-ups. Your car is now your office, stage, nursery. Shh, sorry. Erie Insurance offers products that lots of other companies don't. That's a big deal, and it's a good deal, too. And with Erie, you get your own independent agent, not a giant corporate call center or some online robot. You meet with a real person, like this.
Your local Erie agent is Building Block Insurance Group. Get a quote today at 704-464-4544.
Erie Insurance.
And when you call Jeff Vertepney at 704-464-4544, go ahead and ask him if he thinks Eli Manning is a first ballot Hall of Famer. If he thinks it, not if he will be. Because there's a good chance he will be because of his last name. But regardless of that, Nate, I think I got something in my ear. I might need you to get it out for me.
What you got?
I'm ready to get messy with Nate Nessie.
Let's get messy.
And I love college football. We are like in crunch time right now for college football. Oh my gosh, Nate. Oh my goodness. I was in the student union last night with my buddy, and I usually train on Tuesdays now because we moved our show to Wednesday. And my trainee called me. He said, I got a mentor meeting at 7. And I usually train him at 7. I said, okay. So I sat in the union, and at 6 o'clock, the third CFP, College Football Playoff poll of college football week 13 came out. And I watched the whole 10, 15-minute, whatever. Yeah, let's go, Rob. Let's go. Watch the 10, 15-minute, whatever showing of the College Football Playoff. And this is what I had to say. We got to talk about the picture of college football. We're getting in the crunch time, Nate. You have potentially, Tennessee's the first team out, but you have potentially 5 SEC teams making the playoffs, Nate. 4 of them making the playoffs right now, and I think maybe 4 Big Ten teams as well. So you got pretty much your big conferences or whatever. But what's interesting is BYU was number 6. They just lost to Kansas, which was a huge upset. BYU, they just don't play defense. You have BYU falling from 6 to 14. Guess who moves up past 14, Nate?
Or Georgia.
Boise State.
Boise
State. The group of 5 shoe-in. Now, what we predicted to be 1, 2, 3, 4 seeds for the Power 4 conferences, we now have Big Ten Conference champion, SEC Conference champion, ACC Conference champion, and Group of 5 champion, which is Boise State. Now Boise State gets a bye.
Big 12.
BYU.
Okay.
BYU is now ranked below Boise State, which means they will have to play the first round of the college football playoffs. They don't get a bye. Because what we thought was going to happen was, okay, well, the group of 5 team just going to be the last ranked team, so they're just going to be seed number 12, have to play whoever. BYU's now seed number 12. So they don't get a bye, even though they won their conference in a power conference, might I add. But we're forgetting some teams that could compete for that Big 12 spot. Colorado, Nate. What has Coach Prime been doing in Colorado?
They've been winning and playing good football. They've been winning and playing good football. They have to play BYU, wouldn't they?
They would in the championship.
Okay.
Now, Colorado has 2 losses. They lost to Nebraska. They've lost to
Kansas State.
Whoa.
Kansas State in the Big 12 too, right? So we need to look.
Kansas State just lost. So they're pretty much out. Kansas State's pretty much out. It's really Colorado and BYU. But what does not make sense to me is this. Look at number 13 as it scrolls past the screen, Nate. Who's that team right there?
Hold on. He's got to come back.
Oh, did not come back? It's your conference number 1 in the ACC right now, SMU.
Oh, wow.
But this is where the rankings get a little bit kind of hypocritical. They're big on head-to-head matchups, which is why you see Ole Miss directly ahead of Georgia, which is why you see Alabama ahead of Georgia.
But Alabama lost to Tennessee, but how many losses does Tennessee have? 3 on the year?
2. They just lost to Georgia. So they had Arkansas and Georgia.
Okay.
But what doesn't make sense, if you look at 13 and 14, that's SMU and BYU. Remember I just told you BYU is ranked 6?
Yeah.
SMU has 1 loss on the season. We talk about head-to-head matchups and how much they matter in the college football playoff setting. But maybe the playoff committee messed up. BYU is the only team that has beaten SMU this entire year. SMU has not lost a conference game since joining the ACC. But now you're going to rank SMU above BYU. Because why? You're now having exceptions to what you thought was an objective rule. Head-to-head matchups. That's what we said was the number 1 contributor to playoff spots. Mm-hmm. Head-to-head matchups, strength of schedule. And now we're looking at it and we're saying, why is SMU ranked above BYU? They were ranked 6. They fell down 8 spots. A team that was undefeated lost once. Why?
That's something I couldn't answer. The committee, and I was talking to Robbie about this. And look who's commented, Robbie. The committee it seems like when we came up with this whole playoff system, or when they came up with the playoff system for NCAA, that the first year somebody was going to get left out. Last year somebody was left out. Now they expanded into a 12-team playoff and whatnot, but still there's not a definite answer or resolution to the problem in collegiate sports when it comes down to it, because you're going to also have people that's going to complain about strength of schedules, conferences, how many losses, how was this a bad loss or a good loss? It's so many other factors that got to get factored in and whatnot. That somebody, even though it's 12 slots, somebody's going to get left out. And everybody's not going to be happy.
No, like I told you, Tennessee's the first team out. Even though Tennessee is who I think is, after they played Georgia, I can't tell. Everybody, it's like a never-ending, just like
just
right. Eating each other. I mean, we've never seen anything like it. Georgia, but they beat Texas, right? They beat Tennessee. Tennessee beats Bama. Bama beats Georgia. Ole Miss beats Georgia. It's just this never-ending cycle of just eating each other. And now we can't really decide how to rank them. Other than whoever wins last is whoever's going to be ranked above the other ones.
Yep.
And Alabama just won, and Georgia just won the last 2 big matchups.
Yep.
And now they're ranked up ahead of people they might have lost to.
Yep. There's no resolution to this. We all thought it was going to be something when you create the playoff, but it's not, because there's always going to be something that comes up.
Yeah, I agree, Rob. Texas number 3. Yeah, I said they were pretenders last week. That's what I said. Uh, but when you don't really have, and it's all part of SEC bias. I feel like Texas has a big bias because they're Texas too. When you're in the SEC and you really don't play anybody, and your record is right there, they're gonna rank you high.
Mm-hmm.
You now have that SEC credibility to your name, and it's the same with Penn State. Penn State at number 4. Say the same for Penn State. They have, or Indiana maybe. Indiana. We're really, really gonna see this weekend what Indiana is made of. Because guess who they have to play? Ohio State.
Are they playing in the shoe or Indiana?
Oh man, that's a good question. I think they might be playing at Ohio State. Yeah, they're playing at Ohio State. Okay, I thought so.
Is that what College game day is going to be?
There's another big matchup.
It should be, if that's the
It
case.
probably will be, but I think there's another big matchup. This week of college football is good because right before rivalry week, you're really getting into competition. Like this is you schedule pretty, except really the exception of Clemson, who we're going to talk about in just a second. Michelle, if you're watching, they have to play the Citadel before they go into South Carolina, which I think Clemson, South Carolina is going to be a banger this year. Oh my gosh, it's going to be so good. I've loved watching those two teams.
It's going to be so much weight.
Ooh, it better not be during the Egg Bowl is all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. It better not be during the Egg Bowl because, it won't be because Egg Bowl's on Friday. Never mind. I don't know what I'm talking about. But Ole Miss has Florida. Is that the only good matchup, Rob? While Rob figures that out, I want to talk about Clemson, Nate, because they just played, and I guessed it perfectly, and I freaking forgot to pull the video up on here. But last week on Thursday, we do a segment called Coach's Corner and predict. I mean, you've been on it. We predict our college football matchups, and Clemson and Pitt was the first one. And I said this: Pitt and Clemson are always a close game. The score is going to be 24-20, and I'm going to give it to Clemson because it's always a close game. Clemson's lost to Pitt and ended up winning the national championship, whatever. The score was 24-20, Nate. I pretty much predicted it spot on. I ended up making a reel about it, posted on Instagram, but that's not what I wanted to talk about. It was 17-17 at the end of the fourth quarter. There was about less than 4 minutes left, 3 minutes, 50-something seconds. And this play happened. And you being a ref, I need you to tell me about this play. Because let me paint the scene. It's 17-17. You're driving down the field. This could potentially win the ball game. Right? And there is a call right here. Boom. I think it's AJ Terrell's little brother. I can't remember if that is or not. But he's on the team. I think maybe AJ Terrell's little brother's 20. Regardless, everybody's thinking a flag should be called. Well, he comes in and his forearm hits the Pitt's quarterback's face mask. And everybody's like, oh, it should be a call. Now, they review this. And it's probably going to show them review. No, it won't. They review this, Nate. And they say that the QB, they're going to call unnecessary roughness because the QB was a defenseless player. And when I looked at this, I have never been more mad at a Clemson game than probably this call right here. Because when you can sit here and tell me, you can look me in the eye as a football fan, who I know what I'm talking about, I've watched a lot of football, and you can sit here and tell me a quarterback stepping up in the pocket about to throw the ball, you see him pat the ball, about to throw it, if you can call that defenseless and lie to my face, and tell me that was a defenseless call and then call a penalty after the review, you got to be out your mind. I have never been so mad, Nate, at a Clemson game. What is the right? Did they make the right call? What is this called, Nate?
It's not defenseless, but, you cannot hit a quarterback in the head and neck area. You can't. You cannot hit a quarterback in the head and neck area. They're going to be protected in that aspect. And you don't really recognize the play. Because in that moment, it's a bang-bang play. But, yeah, it's not a defenseless player. It's an unsportsmanlike conduct player or, a personal foul. It's a personal foul. You guess you got to say roughing the passer because you cannot hit them in the head and neck area. But the thing that's kind of crazy is that, I didn't know that they could review a play. I thought you could only review plays like if it was targeting called.
That's what they were trying to
That's
see,
what
if it was
I thought.
targeting.
I again, because unless they made the targeting call, that's the only way you go back to again reviewing anything. So did they make a targeting call?
There was no call on the field at all, Nate. And that's what I was mad too. They called a penalty after there was no call on the field. And then the commentator said, well, maybe they're looking for if it's targeting review. There was no head-to-head
Because
contact.
if it's a targeting call, they make the targeting call, but then you got to go back and review it.
You got to go back and review it. And I mean, you can review a play if it's targeting and there's no call on the field. I get that. But whenever there's no head-to-head contact, and the commentators were saying he might have launched on that play, which I don't know about that. But when you don't meet the criteria for targeting and you review the play, and obviously the home team's upset, you're going to call something. You review it to call a penalty, targeting. When it's not targeting, we're going to call another penalty. Because that's what the home team wants.
That's what I'm confused, because I didn't know you can call a penalty after a review.
I don't think you can, Nate. I've never heard that unless it's a rule that they just added this year.
I would have to really look into my rule book. I would have to look into my rule book, but I didn't know you could do that. Because if that's the case, you should be able to review all plays and look for certain calls, certain, penalties, and make the call.
You should be able to. If we're gonna go back and say, hey, this was unnecessary roughness when we didn't call it on the play. I mean, you saw the fans upset. They were, I can't play the audio, but they were upset because there was no call on the field. After a timeout was called, right? Pitt called a timeout. They reviewed it and then called the penalty. They came back and said, hey, this is what it is, unnecessary roughness. We're going to call it. And that almost decided that game, Nate, until this happened. And Dad said it was a legit replay.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Nate, what do they say when you kind of disagree with a call on the field and end up, say you score the basketball? What do they say after that?
Ball don't lie.
There you go. Ball don't lie, Nate. Next drive. That's what happens. I don't even think it was. I think they might have had one play before that. Boom. Cade Klubnik scores it in for 6.
Ball don't lie. Ball does not lie.
And guess what? Clemson won that game. And I'm glad they did because of that dang penalty. If we're going to replay things for head penalties, that's fine. I just wish I knew it. They just changed the rules so much for safety reasons. I get that. But as Nate becomes a ref of the game, I will learn it with him and be at his first collegiate, high school, and NFL game.
But that's kind of, that play right there can dictate a game, and you don't want, as a ref, you don't want that to happen. Like, you don't want one particular play to dictate a game when, in most cases, as a competitor, you say that one in particular play is not going to be the dictator of this game when, you've had plays before. So, that I'm glad it worked out, but I do need to get in that rule book for that right there, for that reason right there.
Yeah, we might need to hit our studies, Nate, so we can have better judgment on it. But I was just a little upset, and now that I got a little messy, Nate, I need to set the tone.
Set the tone. It's your time now, brother. It's your time.
Okay, hopefully that's not too loud. Yes, we're gonna go. We're going just to heckle. Rob and I are just gonna go to heckle. Ref, you stink.
Wow. Petty.
Oh man.
Wait, personal fouls and unsportsmanlike conduct can be called after replay. Even wow, I didn't know that.
See, because it's so new, they're just creating stuff for, I guess, safety reasons. I don't. That's the only thing that they say is safety, so it makes sense. But no, we need to get our ref studies and
I
go
gotta
ref a
really
game.
get in that book and study, like, that part.
Well, Nate,
No, it's your time. Hold on, you guys. Hold on, it's my turn. This is right now is the best, part of the show. This is the new week, new chapter. And this evening, Connor is going to share a word. Connor is going to lead us. God is going to speak through Connor to us. He's going to share a word, an enlightening word, uplifting and encouraging word. And let's see what you got, Connor. Let's go.
so as Nate said, yes, I will be leading it today. And, I've been thinking about doing it for the past couple of weeks, but I didn't know if I was ready. I didn't know when I should pull the trigger and say, hey, let me do it for tonight. So I just kept, Nate, just keeps doing it. And I think I'm ready today. I had to kind of pull a verse last minute, but it's going to be fine because I'm going to tie it in perfectly. You won't even realize that I pulled it last minute. You're just going you're going to sit in satisfaction and see it. So let me pull the verse for today. Oops. Yes, thank you, Jesus. Oof. I'm feeling it, Nate. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. Ooh,
Here, that's what I like.
more than college football. More than college football, baby. I'm gonna pick out Jeremiah 29:13 today. Let me put it on the ticker if you can't see it. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. Now, it's a short verse. I get it. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14 words in that verse. And you're sitting here, Connor, why did you pick such a short verse with such short amount of words and try to say a large amount of things? This verse says so much with what I am given. And I've thought about it, and there's certain things that we seek as Christians, as for me, men of God, and maybe it's things that I'm impatient for, the things that I want now that I need to wait for, things that if I wait, I'll be glad once they come, and I will have them. It'll be perfect. It'll be right where it's supposed to be. The timing will be great, and it's just something that I need to wait for. Like, I need to be patient for, and I get that. But with that, I can pull a little bit more scripture. So Nate, if you take a look at King Solomon, if we go back to Solomon. Okay, let's think about what Solomon added in the Bible. So, I mean, he did a lot in the Bible, but for one instance, he had a dream one day. Like me and you laying down, we just go to sleep at night. And then one night, God came to him in a dream. Mm-hmm. And he said, Solomon, oh Solomon, you're dreaming right now. I'm coming to you. This is God. Hey, buddy. Tell me anything you want and I'll grant it to you. Seek whatever you want and I will give it to you. It can be wealth. It can be fame. You can have all the kingdoms in the world. It can all be yours. Just tell me and I'll give it to you. You get one wish. I'm going to be a genie in the bottle. You get one wish. Just tell me what it is you want and I'll grant it for you. And Solomon said, I don't want fortune. I don't want fame. I don't want kingdoms. God, what I really want from you is wisdom. He said, that's what I want. I want wisdom. I want you to show me what it is that I need to do for you in this life. If you give me fortune, if you give me kingdom, if you give me fame, if you give me all this stuff, how am I going to appreciate it? How do I know it's what I'm supposed to have? So he gets wisdom. He seeks wisdom. And what comes with the wisdom, Nate? The fortune, the fame, the kingdoms. He ended up getting all of it in the end because he sought what was from God and made things that he could have got without God. But he said, hey, I'm going to get it through you. And I'm going to be a little vulnerable here. I can go back to last year in college. And, there's a part in, I'm not going to say I'm perfect. There's times where I struggle spiritually. I'm going to be honest there. And there was a time where I thought I was not struggling spiritually last year. And it's because I had kind of a distraction. I had this one girl last year, and it was pretty much a distraction for me. I'm just going to say that. And I thought that I was really good spiritually. And it's because I had a girl, and I wasn't idolizing her, but I was putting her in the place. I was seeking her instead of seeking what I should have been. Instead of seeking spiritually, instead of seeking God, I was seeking flesh, and I was seeking her, and I was doing what I was supposed to do, but for the wrong reasons. I was taught that, hey, I want you to succeed in your spiritual life, not through her, but through me. And I think this all ties together. And I saw this quote earlier today. I don't know if it was today, yesterday. And this is probably when I was ready to do the show tonight, because I think everything this quote is just perfect. And if you look at Jesus, he says, he doesn't say this, but this is like what people say. This is probably something Jesus could say, what he should say, and how he feels towards people. And we take Solomon, we take myself, for example, and he says, many wish to seek the things only I can give them, but none wish to seek me. And when I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh. I'm sitting here trying to seek flesh. I'm trying to seek things that only I can be granted in a faithful, in a successful spiritual life. And I'm not seeking him. I'm not seeking who I'm supposed to be. I mean, if I want kingdom, if I want fortune, if I want fame, if I want this, I'm trying to seek that instead of seeking God. And instead of me seeking God, instead of me seeking Jesus, and eventually being granted that fortune, those kingdoms with patience, with time, because God's timing is perfect. I'm trying to do it on my own time. I'm trying to do it on my own plan. I'm trying to do it my way, because I'm seeking things out of order. I can seek fortune, but I got to seek it through God. I can seek kingdoms. I can seek fame, but I got to seek it through God. If it's God's will for me to be famous, if it's God's will for me to be successful, I got to be successful spiritually first.
That's right.
So, Nate, as we close out this show, I would like to pray, if you don't mind.
Yes, please.
Hopefully, I was ready for tonight.
I love it when you do
it. So, if you don't mind, we're going to pray real quick. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Dear Lord, I want to thank you for letting us gather here today. Talk about football, but to most importantly, talk about you. As we gather here today to seek you out spiritually and fulfill our lives of faith, I pray that you show us the light to you, Lord, that you show us how to seek you so that we can do your will, Lord. If we're supposed to be granted fame, if we're supposed to be granted fortune, we won't know until we seek you, because what you give us, you can also take away. And if it's your will that we're granted these things, then it's your will. And so, Lord, I pray that you fulfill your will to us. Show us what your plan is so that we may go in and be spiritually successful. Lord, I pray that you look over us in the times of struggle, in the times that we're not where we are supposed to be spiritually. Lord, pray to show us where we're supposed to be in our spiritual lives. And if we're there, show us that we're there. Tell us, reassure us that, hey, we're there. We're where we need to be, Lord, so we can keep doing what we're doing, so that we can keep fulfilling your will. And Lord, thank you for sending your son down, for showing us the way, and so that we may seek your son instead of seeking other things that we're not supposed to seek just yet. Lord, it is in your son's holy, precious, and perfect name that I pray. Amen.
Amen. Beautiful, brother. Beautiful, brother.
Nate,
Beautiful.
is there anything you would like to say about that?
Everything, I just, send prayers. My dad's having an open heart surgery tomorrow. Just, and I pray that everybody's in good health, mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. So yeah.
Yes, we do pray for Nate's dad. That's something that I had to go through before senior year with heart surgery, and many are going through it. I know my buddy's dad had to have some heart surgery, and more successful, pretty much all successful surgeries. So the odds are on your dad's side, but Nate, as we say, whatever the Lord's will is what's going to happen, and I pray that He shows it, whatever it is. Because his timing's perfect, Nate. His timing's perfect. Yeah, Michelle said prayers for your dad.
Thanks, man.
So, Nate, as we end this very special episode of the Breakdown X's and O's.
Damn.
Yeah, on Hump Day.
Hump day. Hump day.
I want to thank you for getting on, Nate, as always, because you are a 5-year NFL veteran. You could be doing other things with your time, but you get to spend an hour with me every week and talk football. So thank you, Nate. And is there anything you'd like to say before we end it?
It's weekend football. It's about to be really, really good.
And next week. Next week. We got 2 weeks of good football. I'm going to that Oxford, baby. Hopefully see the Mississippi State Bulldogs put a beat down. Well, I wish everybody safe travels for Thanksgiving. I will be home next week. I'll be in my hometown when we do our breakdown episode, and I'm so happy. I have not been home all 3 years since I've gone to college. So I wish everybody safe travels. If you go travel for Thanksgiving, please eat good on the day that you give thanks, and please give thanks to the man we all serve. So, but until next week, we will be back at 7 o'clock Central, Eastern if you in A-Town with Nate. And until then, my name is Connor Davis. I'm your co-host. The man to my right is the 5-year NFL vet, the man, the myth, legend. I like to call Nate Nessie, but you can call Nate Ness. This has been The Breakdown, X's and O's, and we will see you next week. Goodbye.